Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we are going to put two iconic SpongeBob episodes against each other. And we are going to determine which episode is better. I will make an argument for one episode and my friend Nick will make the argument for the other. We will talk about why the episode as a whole is so great and what specifically occurs in the episode that makes it so good. For my episode, I will be talking about the Season 2 episode Graveyard Shift, and Nick will be talking about the Season 1 episode Pizza Delivery. So let's just jump right into this video. So the episode Graveyard Shift is an episode about SpongeBob and Squidward working the night shift after Mr. Krabs discovers that customers are willing to pay and come eat at a later hour at the Krusty Krab. This episode immediately stands out as the setting of the Krusty Krab is familiar, but working there late at night is not. This is a really cool premise, and the colors in this episode really stand out and shine as the background is the night sky for the most part. The dynamic of this episode is with SpongeBob and Squidward, and this is a fantastic dynamic as we only see these two characters for pretty much the entire episode. Their personalities clash as SpongeBob is loving the shift and Squidward is hating it, with Squidward even asking a customer to hit him over the head with a baseball bat. Squidward finally has some fun sensing SpongeBob doesn't like the dark when he comes back from taking out the trash. And Squidward makes up this whole story about a hash-slinging slasher. This slasher used to be a fry cook at the Krusty Krab, and only appears on Tuesday nights, which is of course the night they are working on. The plot thickens here as Squidward's seemingly made-up story and signs of the slinging slasher come true as the lights flicker, the phone rings with no one on the line, and the bus arrives letting off a man who seemingly has a spatula for a hand, just like the hash-slinging slasher. Now SpongeBob and Squidward are in the same boat as they are worried about the situation and just want to survive this graveyard shift. It turns out this slasher is just a fry cook who wants to apply for a job, and the lights were casually being flickered by Nosferatu, as if this is a normal occurrence for the Krusty Krab. This is a reference to a vampire movie that came out like over 100 years ago, so for the writers to put this in here and act like this is nothing out of the normal, it's just so clever that it does end up being funny. Unless you were like 5 years old watching this and probably got scared by this vampire. Because it was like a real person, so I think some people did get scared of that, like I got scared of the freaking butterfly in that one episode. Okay, so far we have a great idea for an episode, great character dynamics, and a fantastic plot. I haven't even gotten into the endless amazing jokes this episode has to offer. Right at the beginning of the episode, a customer comes up right as closing time occurs and asks if they are open. Squidward points to a sign that says closed and asks him to read the sign. The customer then goes on to order, where Squidward denies him and tells him he has to go home since he has a life. Shortly after, when Mr. Krabs forces Squidward to stay, he himself leaves and tells Squidward that he himself has a life. So he uses Squidward's own words against him right after, as Mr. Krabs does, because he's just a jerk at times. Another great joke was SpongeBob doing all his normal tasks, but being excited about it since it's at night. SpongeBob goes on to burn his hand on the stove and goes, "Ow! I burned my hand!" at night. And you can see his hand swelling, but simply because it's the night shift, he's totally fine with it. Lastly, when Squidward tells SpongeBob the hash-slinging slasher accidentally cut off his own hand, and SpongeBob goes, "You mean like this?" and takes off his own arm, and then goes, "Or like this?" and this keeps going to a pile of arms on the floor until Squidward has to specify the cook wasn't a sponge. Once Squidward says this, SpongeBob is now finally scared, and all the arms he piled up and just, ripping them off his body over and over again, they just get up and run away because they're scared too. This was a clever sponge joke and reminds you that the writers do know a lot about marine life. With all that I shared, I think this is more than enough to topple anything Nick says about Pizza Delivery, as Graveyard Shift is going to stay on top. It's the better episode. I think my points prove that. So I'm going to let Nick speak about his episode now, and you guys can decide what episode is better.
Like Graveyard Shift, Pizza Delivery also features the SpongeBob and Squidward dynamic. Most of the time, this feels like a way to get a really good episode out of SpongeBob. This episode is all about a customer ordering a pizza from the Krusty Krab. This leads to Mr. Krabs telling both SpongeBob and Squidward to go deliver the pizza to the customer. As you can imagine, SpongeBob is very excited about this, and Squidward is very annoyed by this. Some of the many funny jokes that come from this episode include Squidward making SpongeBob drive the boat and SpongeBob panicking and then backing the boat into the middle of nowhere. SpongeBob constantly telling Squidward what to do and eat based off of what people used to do back in the day, and Squidward constantly trying to eat the pizza while SpongeBob is trying to save it for the customer. This episode also gave us one of the most memorable songs from SpongeBob in Krusty Krab Pizza. It's always fun to hear this during the episode. It's also funny to see how annoyed Squidward's face gets during the song. The best part of the episode for me will always be when Squidward actually sticks up for SpongeBob at the end of the episode, when the customer is a huge jerk to him. This is one of the few moments in the show where we see Squidward actually care for SpongeBob and defend him in some way. It just feels like such a good moment when Squidward slams the pizza into the customer's face and tells SpongeBob that he ate the whole thing in one bite to make him feel better. The cherry on top for this episode is that the customer's house was just across the street, so they went through all of that for nothing. Even though this episode was early in season 1, it stands the test of time and remains a classic and a highlight in a show full of highlights.
Alright guys, so obviously both these episodes are phenomenal, as most of the original SpongeBob seasons are. But for video's sake and argument's sake, we put two iconic episodes against each other, and both had some solid reasons on which episode is better and why. Let us know in the comments who you agree with more and what episode you personally like better. And as always, we hope you enjoy the video and we appreciate you watching. Thank you so much and take care.